Brian joins us first in Grand Junction, Colorado. Brian, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, Ken, thanks for taking my call. My question for you is, being at a job that I've been at for a while, I'm good at, but the company leadership, or at least the department leadership, is leaving a lot to be desired right now. And I'm trying to figure out when to leave the job and try and find something else. The caveat is that the industry I'm in, oil and gas, here in western Colorado, is kind of a shaky deal, and it seems to be hit or miss. When it's booming, it's going great. But I might end up being in another trade, like plumbing, something like that, electrician, something that I'm not quite qualified for, but I'm close. So when do you decide to leave based on the leadership more than anything else?
Well, in this situation, we can't allow the leadership and the toxicity or the just lack of efficiency, whatever the real problem is that you have with leadership. We can't allow them to dictate our timeline. So the question becomes, do you want to stay in oil and gas, or do you want to move on to the trades anyway? What's the forget the ups and downs and the leadership, what's the long-term goal for you?
You know, to be honest, I'm kind of on the fence as far as, I feel like I'm in the trades. I'm out in the woods working with my hands by myself a lot. And so I'm doing the same job with just a little bit different framework around it. You know, I'm doing plumbing and electrician and stuff like that already. I love the job. I just, and some of that is looking at the up and down of the oil and gas market. Living where I live, it's hard to have the wife work because there's no child care available.
Okay, but you're doing plumbing and electrician work essentially, but for an oil and gas company.
Effectively, yes. The difference is it's not an apprenticeship or a whatever you want to call that program. And so that's the but then going to someplace else, you'd come right back up in presumably 2 or 3 years. But I got a newborn and a 2-year-old at the house that I got to make sure are getting fed and taken care of as well.
Right. But I don't want you to have an interruption in income at all. So I want you to stay put until you can get the certification or whatever qualification is necessary for you to step out of that oil and gas company and into the trades. It seems like that's the step you want to take. You love the work. You just don't like doing it for this company. So in order to take care of the kiddos, we don't have an interruption in income. So to me, I feel like the question is, what do you have to do, even though you've got the talent to do it? What would a trade company, an electrical company or a plumbing company need to see from you in order to hire you?
Typically it's the certifications, and that's where the rub is, so to speak, because Colorado requires, or at least my understanding was, and I'm trying to get clear on that you had to work 3 years as an electrician to get, say, the journeyman license, which is the straight across move. So quitting the company I'm at seems to be the way you'd have to go to get that, unless I was able to find a company that was willing to work around that with the pay and then, kind of test up without the certification and pay.
How long have you been doing it at your current company?
8 years. How
long?
8 years.
8 years. So that doesn't transfer? That's not more than 3 years?
No, because that's the problem, is you have to be in that program for the it's hoops you got to jump through and check boxes to say, yes, you've done this and this and this. And
okay.
So that's where,
let me ask a silly question. The work you've been doing for this oil and gas company, if you write it all down and you were to take over 8 years, I've done this type of electrical work, I've done this kind of plumbing work, and you're actually talking to another electrician or plumber, would they say, oh my gosh, you have all the experience necessary?
I think they would, yes.
Yeah, so why don't you go about doing that? You need to talk to some actual guys who run plumbing companies. You got to work your relationships. Somebody that runs an electrical company, you got to sit down with them and go, hey, here's my situation. This is what I've been doing. This is the kind of work I want to do, but I know what the state law says, and I'm just asking, do I have the equivalent, or can you help me around the loophole? Is there a loophole? If there is, would you be willing to help me get through the loophole so I could work for you? I think that's what you have to do.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. That sounds
because
good.
I think you and we've boiled it down to, that seems to me to be the only avenue. Unless you go to another oil and gas company with better leadership, and that's an option as well. But I wonder, let me throw one other scenario out there just because I want to make sure I'm helping you think through everything. Let's say they come back to you and say, no, there's no loophole. It stinks, but this is how you got to do it. I wonder if you don't start doing some electrical and plumbing work on the side. You see what I'm saying? For yourself. And then you build up the experience that way. And then you're making extra money.
Yeah, and I've thought of that. The only problem with that is we live on 80 acres, and I got a ranch that I'm trying to take care of at the same time and raise beef and all that stuff. So there's a little bit of a lack of time to just go ahead and
yeah, dude, you're running a farm. That's impressive.
Oh, we're busy. I mean, that's the thing. It's a variety of skills. It's just a matter of having them certified on paper.
Are you making money on the farm and the cattle?
We're not making a ton of money, but we're working on shifting some things around. It's more of a family farm, and it's going to be a little bit more sole proprietorship, so to speak.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we figured out the path for you, and I think you just got to relationship this thing to the point where somebody goes, you know what? Brian's a good dude. He's got all the talent. I'm going to help you come work for me. I think that's the play. I really do. I really do. But it may not be that simple. But I think that's the best play.